Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're really happy that you could participate in our webinar. This is actually the first webinar like this that we're doing, so we're really excited to be able to find a new way to communicate with you guys. So just a few logistics up here at the top. My name is Emily Lakemaker, and I'm the Associate Director of Recruitment and Student Life. We are recording this webinar, so if you don't catch something or want to go back and review or re-listen to something, we're going to have this on our YouTube page within about 3 to 5 business days of the webinar being live. So probably sometime mid next week we'll have this up on that page. And I'll be emailing out everyone that registered for this. I'll email you a link to that once it's up and live. We're going to go through the presentation first, and in the upper right-hand corner, you can see where my cursor is. In the upper right-hand corner you should see a section for questions. So please feel free to type in your questions as you think of them. Once we're done with the presentation itself, we will go through and read the questions aloud and allow our panelists to answer them. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Hannah to get started, and I think we'll go around and do some introductions with all of our different student panelists that are in the room.
Hi, I'm Hannah Nickel. I'm the Assistant Director of International Student Affairs and ESL, and I'll ask our student panelists to introduce themselves.
Hi guys, this is Archana. I'm a first year health policy and management student, basically focusing more on health management, and I'm from India.
Hi everyone, I'm Baida Awan. I'm also a health policy and health management student, first year. And my concentration is also management.
And just now coming in, you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, hey. I'm Zhen Yu. I'm from China. I'm in IP department now, first year, and so everything's okay.
Awesome. Great. And just to give you a visual, because you're not here with us physically, we operate out of 2 buildings, and we're currently sitting in the building on the right. So what does our international student community look like at the moment? We've got 175 international students in our entire program, 43 countries represented, and 16% of the overall student population is considered international. A snapshot of our class of 2018. We had 555 entering students, 40% students of color, 14% international, with 29 countries represented, 76% female, and so on and so forth. Let's talk about English language support at Rollins. About half of our students participate in ESL classes. Those are bi-weekly classes in both fall and spring semester. We also have an academic writing center that's open to all students, domestic, international. There's a volunteer peer editors program particularly for second language learners, and various other writing workshops and conversation practice sessions. For more information, there's the website below. Lots of ways to get involved as an international student. At Rollins, there are a lot of globally or culturally focused student organizations. Just a couple of them are the Rollins International Student Advisory Board, which
we are a part of, and right now we have like the international student reps for RSGA. That's like the new position that has opened up this year, for which Varda and I are the representatives. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity for international students here. Apart from that, there are various student organizations here, like the Students for Social Justice, the American Black Public Health Association, OLA, which is the Association for Latin American Students.
It's this one that focuses on health in Latin American communities, and then we have the new one that just got charted, Latinx, and that's the one that's kind of specifically. Well, I say specifically, anyone can join any of the clubs, but that's the one that focuses on created by and for Latin students, Hispanic students.
And there's also this Graduate Muslim Student Association that Varda is a part of, so I think she can tell you more about it. And yeah, there are many of them.
The good thing about Emory University and Rollins School of Public Health is they promote student bodies a lot, and because of this, demographically, we've got divisions, we've got health-focused groups, and we have faith-based groups as well. So the Graduate Muslim Student Association is actually all across Emory University. It is specific to graduate students because we have a lot of PhD and master students who are also enrolled, and the proportions are actually 50-50%. So we have 50% graduate students and 50% undergraduate students that represent these organizations. Apart from that, we have the
South Asian Association, like there's a public health association which is focusing on South Asian health. So you have a lot of students from India and Pakistan and China all be a part of it. So yeah, and as well as there's a Chinese Student Association which is at Emory, which is like an Emory wide thing.
Yes, and it's pretty exciting because it's really exciting because these organizations give you an opportunity through their networking events to meet other students whom you will already meet as a part of your orientation, but then you can follow up throughout the year, organize activities with them. We have the Global Cultures Week coming up this semester, and that's a very good opportunity for all the international students to get together and do something that's very culturally focused. So it's not much of a homesickness kind of experience that you go through, because you're always around people who you can relate back to at home.
Yeah, and there's a new thing right now that we have the Global Cultures Week, which is coming up in March, where we are going to have like tables for particular countries showing off their culture, food, and it's a good involvement because right now I think we've got 4 entries that's representing Japan, China, Taiwan,
Europe, and Pakistan. There's actually 6 now. So
that's like an increased participation for. So there's a lot of opportunity for international students. You won't feel homesick or lonely. We are all in this together.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you. That's so nice to hear. Great. And question that we always that we hear a lot is, how do you fund your education? I'd like to talk a little bit about a program called Rollins Earn and Learn. It's a work-study program where Emory pays half and the employer pays half. So it's a good mutual incentive. More than 500 of our students are employed by various agencies. And for international students, you're eligible to apply in the spring of your first year. Anything to add?
Sure. So with the REAL award, we have to keep it in focus that organizations like the CDC and the American Heart Association, they're nationwide known organizations, so we have like a huge number of influx of applicants, especially students who want to work there and gain their first-hand experience. But through Rollins, we get this opportunity just focused on our students, that they get it not just ahead in terms of the application process through the program, but also they get to connect with professors who are most of the times also are part-time faculty at Rollins. So if it's the human resource department there, one of my professors was actually the director there, so I could actually negotiate with her and talk to her about my specific interest and work around what I'd like to do in my position, rather than just going for an opportunity that was posted online.
Mm-hmm. And there's even opportunity outside of REAL. I mean, yeah, there is like real is competitive. Right now it's on a first come first serve basis, but we're working on it to make it a little more like the screening process should be a little more standardized kind of a thing, and where it's based on some other factors other than just being first come first serve. But you do find opportunities outside of real. You just have to be on the lookout and kind of just connect with your professors. This is what I did. But like when I came to Rollins, I already had a job. Like I got a job in August itself, where I was connecting with professors before during summer, where I was just emailing like people who have a similar interest to kind of know what they're doing. And that's how I got one of the interview calls about, this is for the Healthcare Innovation Program, which is done by the HPM department. So that's how I kind of got the job. It was not, I don't have real this year, but I could still find it. And in the spring I'm still a part of it, as well as I have a second job in the spring semester, which is, again, I network through the professors and got it with Prism Health that focuses on minority sexual health. So yeah, you just have to kind of work through it. It's not the end of the world if you don't get real. You do have opportunities outside. And I can tell that there's library positions that come up in like every semester. So you just have to go on the LIT's website to kind of see if there is any open positions to work within the library.
Yes, like networking with professors really helpful. So I got the real award, but I did not really like apply for a real job because like I feel like I'm wasting it. Like I talked to a professor, I am interested in genetic infectious disease, and there's not much professor doing that. So there's one in Rollins doing that, so I just email him a lot. Like he did not reply at the first time, but I like email him 1,000 of times. So and he's just like, oh, okay, you come, let's talk about something like for 20 minutes. So I came to him, and so we talked, and we like each other, I guess. And then so I got in the project, so I got a job for money and what I was really interested in doing. So I think like without will, we can still do a lot of things on campus.
Yeah, and professors here are quite very, very helpful, I should say. They have like, even if you have certain doubts outside of the classroom, like they are ready to give you career advice as well as if you don't understand certain concepts in the class, which is mostly unlikely because they kind of do a good job going through the basics. They don't consider you have come into the class with a set of knowledge, but they just start from the scratch. So you can understand the concepts, but if you do have a doubt, you can approach them outside, and they have this walk-in hours, like kind of every day, where you can go and kind of ask them doubts, and they are very, very helpful.
And also friends helpful to like the local student. You should talk to them. Like my Chinese friend got a job by his friend.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's from HPM and his friend in FP. There is an open position in FP. So his friend just tell him that he's applied that, and then he get a job.
Great. So it sounds like networking is key in terms of finding job opportunities. And for other types of funding, I would encourage you to look at our admissions page or get in touch with me directly. There are some fellowship programs that a lot of our students come through, the Faggy Fellowship, Fulbright, King Abdullah. So depending on what country you are in, you might be able to apply for a fellowship program. So I'll talk about a couple of the offices that are on campus. Our International Student and Scholar Services, we'll talk more about this in a second. Jennifer's your contact there. Our Office of International Student Life works with international students across campus, and they provide a lot of similar services to what my one-woman office provides. You know, larger scale events, larger scale conversation partner programs, and it's a good office for just general support as an international student as well. So one important event, important dates to go ahead and mark on your calendar. August 9th through 11th is International Orientation, and I would highly, highly encourage you to book your plane ticket as far in advance of International Orientation as you can. So try to arrive, at least the day or a couple of days before. Try to move in before International Orientation, because once International Orientation starts, the semester gets into full swing. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Like once the international student orientation gets over, you have the main orientation where you have it's a little more focused events where you have domestic students joining you as well, and after which within like the next week your classes begin. And attending the Rollins international student orientation is important because it kind of tells you in depth about what Rollins is, and it gets you in touch with the IT required for various purposes. Like we had the Citrix website,
Yes.
which was introduced to us, which is like used at Rollins every day. Like you mostly, if you have to do some homework on SAS or something, you can do it from your home if you have an access to this virtual website of Rollins, which is Citrix. So yeah, it's highly recommend that you attend, and plus always there's free food.
I think at least for my experience, I would say it was very important that I landed earlier, at least 2 days earlier than even your orientation, because there's a lot of logistical requirements that you will have to fulfill. You're setting up a new house, you're getting accustomed to an entirely new city, so you need that time in order to prepare that when the orientation is actually happening, you have your full attention and your full time devoted to it, because that's a great opportunity for you to interact with your fellow classmates, some of whom you will not meet because they're from different departments as regularly. I ended up making some really good friends during the International Student Orientation, and it was because we would hang out from 8 a.m. in the morning till right till the end, even after the orientation was over, because we were so excited. It was an entirely new experience, so we would go around discovering places around close to Emory, going to cafes, figuring out what things are like, because it's actually a very important resource, the friends that you make, because you'll be figuring out the little knick-knack problems together, like, oh, I have, for me, walking was a challenge because I'm a very, very lazy person in terms of swimming and stuff, so I would just talk to my friend and be like, oh, wow, people over here in America walk a lot. So you want to enjoy that process because that's where you'll be making your memories. So get here as soon as you can.
So, like when I firstly land into America, I feel so scared, like alone and face a lot of like different colors people, and I barely speak English. Like, I can speak English by like facing the local people, like I just cannot speak. So, and the day I went to the orientation, I sit down and saw many Chinese faces. I feel so like it's so like home. And then like I started talking to people, making friends, making international student friends, and I feel better like by joining that event. So it's really helpful.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
So Junyu's right. There are a lot of Chinese students here. About 49% of our students.
That'll be a lot.
Of international.
No, not yet. Yeah. Of international students are from China, followed by India. Great. So I'm glad you found orientation helpful. It is mandatory. It's useful. There are speakers from various offices, including Dean Curran, and as Wardaw said, it's a good chance to meet other.
And there's also
friends.
a panel for the last time we had a panel of second years coming and talking about their experience. So it's a good way for you to kind of interact with the second years right from the day one. It becomes very difficult to kind of interact with them on a daily basis. So if you start knowing them right from the start, it's a good thing for you, because through them you will get to know a lot of internship opportunities and like how to get adjusted to Rollins. They'll kind of tell you better.
Great. So see you August 9th. Our admitted student portal is a good source for information. If you haven't checked it out already, please do. Only admitted students can log in, and there's information there about international orientation and other information pertinent to international students and all students.
Mm-hmm.
So something to start thinking about, if you've decided that Rollins is your spot, go ahead and start getting your documentation in order. So from what I understand, the financial certificate will be available on the admitted student portal, and it'll be emailed to you as well in a couple of weeks. So sometime in March, please keep your eye out for that financial certificate that you'll need to fill out, send back to us, and our office will then issue you an I-20. With that I-20, you'll go to your embassy, so make an embassy appointment, take your I-20 to then get a visa. So this will be something you don't want to wait on. The absolute deadline for your financial certificate is June 15th, but please don't wait until then. Go ahead and get it all in order because you don't want to have to worry about a delay there. Anything to add?
No. That's good.
Great. So getting your student visa, you'll be on an F1 or a J1 visa?
No, I'm on a different visa.
Oh, right.
Yeah, like my case is different where I've already married and I'm in the US. I've been in the US for around 1.5 years if you exclude me before the time that I came to Rollins. And because of that, I'm on a different visa, but yeah, like this is like mostly all will be just on F1 or J1, I guess.
So I'm on an F1 visa, and I've gone through the process of filing an I-20 and all filling out my requirements. One thing that I would suggest is because it varies considerably, the processing times. They're not very specific, especially like in my country, the embassy wasn't as specific about the actual turnover when the visa would arrive. Mine thankfully came in a week, but there were students who were held back for over 3 months. So you have to be very careful, and you just keep your documents ready, and as soon as you receive the I-20, that's probably the first thing that you want to do before everything else falls into place. I know this for me, right before I was coming to the United States, there was a lot of things on my priority list. I was working, so I had to wrap up my office, I had to wrap up whatever was back home and everything, but this is like A1 priority, because if you delayed that, you might compromise missing out on the orientation or just missing out on the entire experience itself. So you don't want to be in that position.
Very well said. Yes. And for your visa interview, take all of your documents, just answer honestly, and you'll be fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. Even like I've seen people, I have had friends who have come on F1, and even for me personally, it wasn't that horrific. It was like you just have to be yourself then and answer truthfully.
It was surprising for me that not a lot of people in Pakistan know of Emory University except people who are associated with healthcare, because it's more renowned for healthcare. But when I actually went to the embassy, my interviewer knew what Emory University was because it's more popular in the United States. And it was very exciting because he wanted to know all that I had figured out about Emory by then. So you should probably be doing a little bit of homework in terms of what Emory is known for. It's all on the website, so it's not much. It's not a lot of information that you have to take in, but just to have that comfortable conversation with them, know where you're coming and be excited about it, and show that in your, if you've done your homework, you'll be able to express that during the visa interview, and that really makes a difference.
Great. Thank you. So if you have more immigration-related questions, ISSS is your place. So visit the International Student and Scholar Services website or contact Jennifer Knupp. She's the ISSS advisor specifically for Rollins students. Let's talk about housing. I know that our panelists will have a lot to say about this, but it's probably a good idea to secure your housing before you arrive, definitely before international orientation, because those things, then things get crazy. Do you want to talk?
Sure. So in terms of housing, there's a series of resources that you can utilize. The first and the foremost is the Emory housing website. I'm sure the link is also available in the admitted students portal because that's how I accessed it. There's a bunch of properties that are listed on it, and those are mostly the properties that are the closest to the university.
And it'll tell you the exact proximity to campus.
Yeah, you can actually customize your search by the number of rooms, the number of bathrooms, and it actually, you can you have even your second years or your first years who are looking for roommates or something like that, you have advertisements posted there.
Yep.
So accordingly you can like search. Apart from the ones that I mentioned, what I personally went through was I just did a Google search, and I had a fixed budget which I had to I wanted my housing to be within that. So I had to do a lot of searching, but a few websites that I recommend for that would be Zillow is a good website where you get like cheap housing, which is it's a good option when you are on a tight budget, as well as you have apartmentguide.com, where again you can search depending on the area and how many miles away from school. And one of the apartments that I would recommend, there's no much visibility for this apartment, is where I'm actually living. It's Pines on Scott. It's just around 1.5 miles away from school, and there is a shuttle stop for Emory, which is the CCTMA shuttle that stops there's just 2 minutes walking for that bus stop. And that is something that I would highly recommend, because I like the entire house costs around, like the entire apartment costs around $950, but I live with a roommate, so when you split it up, for me it just comes to $475, and it covers water as well as trash. So I have to just end up paying for the internet and electricity. So my monthly, it goes to around just maybe like 550 to 600, that's it. So which is a good option for me.
So besides the official resources that you have through Emory, there's a wide range of unofficial resources that are equally helpful. One, as Archana said, would be, I would highly recommend that you join into the Facebook pages. So there will be a class page, there would be a specific department page for you where students would be posting, and alongside with that there's the informal Emory buy and sell page where mostly your roommate search you'll see. There'll be things like because I was also on a budget, so getting a bed, a mattress, a cupboard, even that was the Emory buy and sell page was actually really resourceful, because all the previous students are leaving and they have a lot of furniture and a lot of things that you might need that they're willing to hand down to you at a very reasonable rate. I actually ended up doing a very extensive research, so I had a group of international students that I had met online, that I was communicating with continuously. I think my internet presence from Pakistan was extremely high. That was something that in the last few days, that was all I was doing. So everyone who was here and had any piece of information to share, I was always willing to take it in. So that would really help you to connect with your second years online, and they're generally very open and helpful in terms of telling you which area is safer to live in, which area has more supermarkets for you to walk to, and you can specifically ask for a certain apartment complex if you like it. For me, I ended up approaching an independent agent who would, not for a fee at all, go and do the apartment viewing, explained to me what the paperwork requirement would be, because it was different from my home country. They required financial, as an international student, because you don't have a history here, a credit history, they need your financial background. So you might have to, based on your apartment complex, produce additional resources.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You have to keep in mind that whatever is being projected on the apartment complex website. Besides that, you have to keep utilities, internet, cable TV, all that in mind, and you can find out averages, maybe not the exact bill, through previous tenants, or you can ask the leasing office themselves. They're generally very open with that. There's usually for international students a security deposit as well, so you have to keep that in mind.
For everyone.
There's a security
Mhm.
deposit for everyone, but I think for
Okay.
internationals would be a bit on the higher side because
Yeah.
you don't have a credit history over
Yeah.
here. Everything works on credit history, so you will not be having it. So for that, you would have to pay a bit more, but it's not that much that you can't like afford it. Like here, at least in Atlanta, the housing is very reasonable. The pricing is very reasonable as compared to the other areas. So that is
Other
one
cities
good
in the
thing
US.
of Atlanta, that it's very affordable. Even like the food over here is affordable, and you have around campus and around like the areas, the apartment complexes that you find around campus, you have a lot of eating spots, which is like multi-cuisine basis. You have like one Mediterranean grill, you have
Yeah.
like an Indian eatery, you have Pakistani eatery, you have Chinese, you name it and you have it over here.
One thing that you have to really appreciate Emory for is, unlike some of the other places that I was looking into, we have a very good shuttle network system. So even if your apartment complex is a mile away, you have to keep into consideration that if it's close to an Emory shuttle stop, then commute would be probably more easy for you than something that's not on the shuttle route. So there's a bunch of apartment complexes almost around every shuttle stop. Uh, it's a long discussion, so if anyone wants to approach me independently on the Facebook page, I'm willing to help you guys out with the housing and logistic um, um, details of it. But one of the key situations for me was I live a mile away from campus, but my shuttle stop is right across the street, so I can literally walk out and not have to worry about the parking or the traffic or anything else, and just come to school every morning.
So just one advice, be quick. So I wanted to like live in campus crossing. So I called them and I found out that they already booked on July or June.
June,
So
yeah.
I'm moving like now I'm living in President Park, which is okay, and it's near Park Breaks. Like you really want to live near Park Breaks, near Walmart, is so convenient.
Yeah, here you have like even the store which you have like you can get your household stuff at a cheaper rate would be Walmart.
Yes.
One of the best stores where you get everything at a very discounted price. So yeah, you would want to live somewhere where there is a eating joint, where there is a supermarket and stuff, so that you don't have to really travel much for it. And you have to, because you won't be having a car, I'm assuming, when you come here. So you would you have to find some apartment close to the shuttle stop for Emory, so that commute is not a problem for you.
So let's move through so we get to the end for questions. But just to let you know, these in that little box in the middle, these are just a few apartment complexes. June, you mentioned President Park, and that's where you live, right?
Yes.
And Campus Crossings, which is quite popular with our students. When you go to sign a lease, find out these things, as Wardall was mentioning. And in terms of finding a roommate, finding people to live with, here are a few organizations or Facebook groups that might help you out. The apartment complexes can sometimes help with that. And as our panelists mentioned, the off-campus housing website is also very useful for that. So if you'd like to connect on Facebook, some important groups will be this first one, the RSPH Class of 2019 Facebook page. We also have an International Students Facebook group. I believe the name is Rollins School of Public Health, International Students, if you want to just look us up on Facebook. Feel free to join that group to find, your future friends and housemates and colleagues. If you decide that you'll be joining us at Rollins, we'd love to hear from you there. It'll be a good place to sort of post international student-specific questions as well. And for more information about our programs and services specifically for international students, you can visit the site at the very bottom.
And these Facebook pages have your the second year students and the present first year students, so it's good to join and ask questions in there if you have any, because I have been personally answering a few questions within the page, like things that I know about. So yeah, you have to get in, join the page, and if you have any doubts, just start asking questions. Or I believe you can even contact Hannah, and then she would be able to connect you with the right person to answer your questions. And if you have any department specific questions, please reach out to your ADAP of your respective department so that they can connect you with the student representatives from the department to tell you more about a particular department.
So an ADAP functions like an academic advisor. So they typically will advise you on your class schedule and so on.
Yeah, and it can be found on the Rollins website for each department.
I think for each department it's already published.
Yeah.
So we can definitely look into it.
Great questions. So thank you. Let's move on to the questions. Let's see. Open these up. Okay.
So I'll read these aloud, and we're gonna we'll ask our panelists to give their thoughts and input, and we'll get through as many as we can in the next 20 minutes or so. I know all of our students here have to get to class after this, so we can't unfortunately go over over this hour. But any questions that you have after that, we can certainly make sure that between Hannah or the students that you guys get these answered. All right. So first up. So early on, someone asked about housing, but we covered all of that. So I think hopefully we got that. Scholarships, we talked a little bit about it. Was there anything other than real, anything specific?
There are merit-based scholarships that are awarded typically from now to the first week of March. Yeah. But yeah, if you get it, you will definitely be contacted by, again, your ADAP informing you that you have been awarded. But again, it's competitive, so yeah.
And you need to have applied by January 5th to be considered for a merit-based award. There are other scholarships. Unfortunately, here at Rollins, we don't provide scholarships specifically for international students. However, there are a lot of external agencies that you could look into as a sponsoring agent, or and though a couple of documents can be found on our admissions website.
Okay, next up. Are international students eligible to work at organizations like the CDC?
You can work at CDC if you have a real award, because it being a federal organization, without a real, it would be difficult to get in. But you can work while studying at Rollins. You can work with a real award there. There are volunteering opportunities too within CDC, which is you can kind of work with, but without getting paid. After graduation, there is this ORISE fellowship that some international students apply, and I have known one international student getting through the ORISE fellowship to work with CDC. So that's one of the options.
Yeah, I got a summer practicum in CDC now.
Okay.
They're using OPT, but they said I may not get in CDC because the security, I can work outside and meet in the cafe.
Yeah, like I know one of the second years who's currently working in CDC on health policy. So she got that through the real program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the options are there. It's just a few extra steps for international students. Next up is I'm accepted into the MPH program in Health Policy Management. It would be really helpful if you could talk about career prospects. I feel like we have an HPMer. Is that you?
Yes.
Too. Both of you guys. Oh, and you're Effie. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
MPH and health policy specifically, it would be that you would end up working in mostly it's got to do with federal institutions, if I'm not mistaken. You have PCORI, which is the Patient-Centered Outcome Research Institute, which many people like kind of end up working. It's based in Washington, so that's one of the things that people work on. The other would be, again, the CDC would be another option. I'm not quite familiar with health policy because I'm like my concentration is health management, but definitely if anyone like wants to know more about it, you can get in touch with us and we'll connect you to the right health policy students that we know.
The good thing about the HPM program is you don't have to decide which track you're going to take in your fall semester. You can decide by spring. So we had around 80 students last year who were all enrolled in the same basic courses, and then based on what their preference was in terms of their concentration, they were divided. In terms of management, I can speak that there's plenty of opportunities, particularly because Emory Healthcare itself has a very renowned reputation in terms of healthcare, and they have a very wide network. We have hospitals in Midtown, we have the Emory Hospital here itself, so there's more than plenty opportunities for you to work in different areas, whether it's IT, general administration, operations, whatever that I have come up with as one of my subject areas of interest, I've found within Emory Healthcare opportunities for that. And from what I'm aware of, there are fellowships afterwards that I can follow through for at least for management. There are other organizations in Atlanta, because Atlanta is also a hub for a lot of other organizations, their headquarters. There are health insurance agencies like Kaiser Permanente that have local and regional offices where you can also work, because management is a very broad field. So I can definitely watch for this, that there are plenty of organizations and opportunities within Atlanta that will have opportunities that you would be interested in, and a lot of them are also sponsoring candidates for later on in your career. You just have to be connected with people who have already been through it. So international students who have now positions in these organizations, because they're the ones who are going to tell you whether the organization is willing to sponsor candidates later on in their careers, because it's not something that generally is posted on a job application, job description. But if you network strong enough, you will know where to go and what steps to take.
Great, awesome, thank you. Can you please talk about the neighborhoods where international students, particularly Indian, where first-year MPHers live?
Okay, so yeah, I can speak about it. The neighborhood that I live would be Decatur, and Decatur has even President Park. President Park is just like 10 minutes walk from my place. So Decatur is one of the areas. Then Druid Hills is another area that people live. So generally, I would say Indians end up living in Decatur and Druid Hills because you have this Patel Plaza, which is like an Indian supermarket where you find everything Indian, right from the stores to you have clothing shops, you have even like vegetable market and
Indian saloons,
everything. Like I that's what Patel Plaza is like close to where I live, so then that's like a heaven for me. So yeah, like Indians would definitely end up living in Decatur and Druid Hills.
So if you ever want a samosa or something out of the blue that you're homesick, even for me, I end up going to Patel Plaza. I don't live in that area. I live 15 minutes off, but that's where I think not just us, but generally all people, Indians, Pakistanis, South Asians living in Atlanta,
Like I even have like an American friend who actually loves Indian food, so we end up going there a lot. And even like traveling to Pate or traveling around Atlanta is not a problem because you have Uber and Lyft, which is like if they give you the Uber pool and Lyft pool, which they give you like cheaper options. And from where like I live to go to reach Patel Plaza, it just takes me in the Lyft pool or Uber pool $3, or sometimes it's just free. I just end up getting it free.
Wow, free?
Yeah, sometimes.
What?
I don't know. It just sometimes I just feel it's free. I think there's a lot of Ubers and
Yeah,
Lyft.
promo code.
Yeah, so you end up like paying really less for just going there, which is awesome. As well as you have the North DeKalb Mall, which has a stop at Walmart. So that is the biggest good thing that happened this year is that they introduced a shuttle stop at Walmart, so you can do your shopping there and come back home. As well as from Walmart, Patel Plaza would just be like 5 minutes walking, which is again good. So yeah, definitely Decatur would be one of the places.
And we forgot about the best resource. There's an AMC theater here that only shows Indian and Pakistani and Bollywood movies
there is
all
like,
the time.
So you won't miss your home country, especially like India or Pakistan, because you have a lot of options.
It's such an entertaining place to go, and at any point in time when your friends back home are watching a new movie that was just released, you don't have to worry about not being able to have access to it. There's actually an Emory shuttle that goes to that theater, and you can watch it the same day that it was released in Pakistan or in India.
Yeah, because the theaters are not that crowded, so you can.
Yeah, and it's a pretty cool place to hang out with your friends. I know a lot of people go there, so it's fun.
All right, so next up, I see that fall pre-registration is March 20th. Does that apply to incoming students? No. So for incoming students, you will not do any type of course registration until I think that opens up in mid-June.
And if you're in HPM department, you don't have to worry about it at all because, again, Kathy or ADAP actually kind of does that for you for the first semester where you have to follow a fixed coursework where everyone are doing the same thing. So for HPM, you don't have to worry about it at all. Kathy does an awesome job actually assigning things for you.
And each department has a bit of a different registration process. Like HPM, the advisor does it for you because all those students take these same exact classes. Exactly. It's a bit different in each department, but the admitted student portal has that section of the portal will open up as we get closer to that time frame, and all the information will be there for you. When will scholarship information be sent? I'm assuming you mean like award notifications. That probably goes out within the next 1 to 2 weeks. I know we are in the final process of that right now. So if you were awarded a merit-based award, you would find out then. Any support for us on arrival or for accommodations and like?
Although we don't place students in apartment complexes, we do provide as much information as we can. So this summer I'll be sending out information about various apartment complexes that are popular among our international students, as well as those links that we talked about today, like off-campus student housing, the Facebook groups, the Find a Roommate group, the surplus furniture group, and so on. So there will be online online support. And of course, international orientation is also a form of support logistically for students as you're first arriving in a new country.
Next up, does REAL include all job opportunities we can take for CPT? What is CPT?
That's continued practical training.
Oh, okay. For CPT, are there any other options?
Okay, CPT, the one good thing for REAL Award is that you don't have to take under CPT. You can work outside Rollins, outside Emory, anywhere in Atlanta with just having the REAL Award where you don't have to really use your CPT. CPT you would be ended up using during your internships when you have to go maybe outside of Georgia or even outside like the REAL Award is semester bound, so it does not apply to the summer where you'll be typically taking your internships. So for that time only you have to use your CPT. Otherwise, the real award, you can just work anywhere outside Rollins or Emory without just using your CPT.
So because you are considered a Rollins employee, it's very favorable for you because you are kind of an on-campus student employee, which helps because the CPT and OPT can only be utilized once as an international student. So you're not really using that, but you're still employed, which helps.
Yeah, that is one of the best parts of Rollins, apart if you compare it with any other universities.
So next up, and this is a really good question. I'm glad this question came up. What would the job prospects, what would be the job prospects for international students given how things are shaping up in the U.S. under the current government? It's a really good question, and it's really hard to answer, honestly. I think everybody around the room is kind of looking at each other like, I don't know. And it is hard to say, you know, we can't really, we don't know what the next 4 years are going to look like under our current administration. But, you know, I can say that as of right now, things are normal, and how things have gone back to normal with visa applications and with issuing visas. So that executive order, thankfully, is not an issue right now. In terms of job prospects, I don't think it would be much different than the current status of just having to find an agency or a company that wants to sponsor you for a visa. You know, I think our international student population is a pretty healthy mix of students coming here specifically to get training to then go back home to then work in their home country, versus some that come here with intent to stay and want to work full-time here in the States. And it's those that they then have to find a company that would hire them full-time for that and sponsor their visa or their documentation. So
yeah, you have even career fairs that come up every semester, where you have the fall career fair as well as the spring career fair, which is just this Friday, which is tomorrow. Yeah, so there you have you have companies that come, and there is this app that Rollins has for the career fair, where you can track the organizations, and it actually tells you whether they hire the international students. So you have a good mix of companies, organizations that actually hire international students, especially there are consulting firms like Booz Allen Hamilton who's actually coming. So that's one of the options, as well as you have even within Emory also, they kind of sponsor your visas if you get selected for something.
Mm-hmm. And also the Career Center, there is one of the staff members in our Career Center went through our MPH program as an international student herself, and is now working for Emory, and specifically Rollins in the career office. And she has kind of started doing seminars and programs specifically with international students to basically kind of let you guys know of the challenges and what to expect when you enter the job market, and tips and bringing in alumni from Rollins that were international students but then have been able to stay here. Right. So we want to be realistic for you guys and let you know that it's not an automatic guarantee that you're going to find a company, but we also want to provide you guys with resources to be able to figure out what the best course of action for you would be following graduation.
Right. Absolutely. Great.
So next up, how much people are asking about the cost of housing. So if you guys are comfortable sharing, like maybe what you pay in rent each month and just general living expenses.
Sure. So the expenses are going to range for including utilities and everything. Something between $500 realistically to up to $1,200 based upon what kind of apartment complex you choose, what kind of facilities there are. Obviously, the ones closer to the shuttle stop are more expensive as opposed to those that are further off, so you have to decide whether you're going to have a car or not have a car. The expenses of your transport would add up to that. So personally for me, I'm living in I booked my apartment early, so my apartment complex gave me a very good rate. It's generally $1,200 for a one bed, but I'm living in a two bed for $1,200. I'm sharing it with a roommate, so my expenses come down to like $550 for the basic accommodation, and then there's utilities that come up to 120. It's on the upper side because I also have a TV and a very expensive cable connection. But it's really up to you and how you, the more input you give into this, the more time you spend on searching it up and connecting with people who are actually residents at these complexes. Most of these complexes will have Facebook pages where there will be people who are, even if they're not students, although most of them would be students, they will be willing to answer your questions. You can go on Yelp, you can go on Trulia and look at different apartment complexes, the rates that of the crime rates in neighborhoods. So it's actually very organized, the kind of information that is available to you about each apartment complex, the neighborhoods, the expenses that you'll incur, but you have to budget it out on a monthly basis, and you have to figure out where you're spending your money. So I'm spending all of my money on residence so that I don't have to spend on commute at all, because generally as a student you will have a very hectic schedule. So you end up not going out so much. So at some points in time, you don't have to worry about transport altogether. So there's actually a lot of things that you have to keep in mind when you're looking at it. But it's generally $500 to $1,200 on the expenses side.
Depending on how fancy you want to be.
Yeah.
And you can just Google it, like in the apartment, like the website, and the price will be there.
Yeah, most everybody lists their price on their website. The next question I think is related to that, asking about the deposit, how much the deposit is. Real quick, there's two different things we could be talking about. There's the deposit to secure your place here at school if you want to confirm your enrollment, and that's $300. And then if you're talking about housing deposits, which most apartment complexes would require a deposit, that would be,
it varies.
Yeah.
It varies with the apartment complex.
Maybe 1 month rent, maybe first and last month rent.
Mine is like 200 something.
Yeah, even mine was 200.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
And you can talk to your apartment complex, and if they're willing and you have a nice leasing agent, they might waiver a lot of your fees as well. So I waived my application fee, which is a very common thing to do. They might waiver your security deposit as well if they think that your documentation is reliable. Another good idea would be to find a local roommate instead of another international roommate, because then they have their security, their social security, that if they're willing to share, you don't have to worry about it altogether, and you will most likely have a lower deposit than a higher one.
Okay, we got time for a couple more questions here. We've got a question about student loan opportunities financed by Emory that are not from a private loan from a bank, and Emory does not provide that. So
because they're federally funded.
Yeah, and I can't think of any school that does.
No school gives you a student loan. You
Yeah.
have to do that from your home country.
Yeah, or a bank here in the States. Yeah, you're not going to find a university that's going to loan you the money for that. This one is about job prospects. I think we covered. We just had that a couple of minutes ago. So I think we're going to be good on that. Are there U.S. Army recruits? So I don't know. I think there's a few ways we could interpret that question. We do have some veterans in the program, some military veterans in the program. But then the military itself, they don't come directly to recruit from us.
But then they don't even recruit international students.
Yeah,
they would be only recruiting domestic students. So you cannot go into the army being an international student. You have to become a U.S. citizen to go into the army or the Air Force or whatever.
And I think you can be in certain stages of citizenship application to join, but I think if you haven't started those processes.
And that's pretty much for every country.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot go into the army.
Yeah. Percentage of international students at RSPH, was that
16% currently.
Yeah, so pretty good number. We're trying to blow through these guys real quick. It's right at 10 o'clock. Thanks for all the helpful information. Great. Okay. This is last question we're going to be able to take. So I've been in the U.S. since 2009. My F1 visa expired in 2013. If I have to travel outside the U.S. for my field placement or internship, I have to visit the U.S. Embassy to renew my student visa, correct? How can I ensure that my student visa will be renewed during that time despite verifying my current status as a full-time student at Rollins? I hold a clean immigration status so far. That is a lot to unpack.
I would say contact Jennifer Knupp to be sure about this, but from what I understand, you're right. You do need to visit a U.S. embassy to renew your visa. And how can you be assured? I would talk. You really can't, but I'd talk to Jennifer about that.
Okay, guys, there's still a lot of questions on there, and I'm sorry we weren't able to get to all of them, but it is 10 o'clock, and we've all got to go off to our various next appointments. But Hannah, was your contact information on here?
Feel free. I'll go ahead and give you my my email address. I'm sorry I didn't include it on the slide. Oh. It's my first name, Hannah, Hannah, dot Nicol, Nicol, at emory.edu. So if you have questions that you think I can answer, feel free to get in touch. My contact information is also on that last link that you see at the bottom of this page. Thanks so much for joining us. Thank you to our panelists.
And please feel free to reach out as needed. That's what we're here for. We're happy to connect with you. And thanks for joining us.
Bye.